Well, welcome, folks, to Lenny Melnick's Fantasy World here, Network. This is Cha-Cha, back from Arizona, folks, after a week in Arizona. And I was fortunate enough to listen to Andrea this morning, Easy Kill last night, Lenny the other morning, and getting back into the normalcy of living back in New York City. Now, I haven't been here, so I have to apologize to Andrea and Lou and Lenny. I don't know how to set this up to tell people I'm on doing my podcast. I know that was something that we discussed, and we're supposed to be able to do it on our iPhones. I have no idea how to do it. I'm going to, let's see. It says invite Facebook friends, so let's see what that means. I don't know what that means. I'll post it, and I'm on. I'm going to put I'm on. I'm going to say I'm on the air and send this to Facebook right now. And if that's what happens there, that matters at all. So I did post it to Facebook, Andrea. And that's all I'm allowed to do. So that's all I see here in front of me. So that's what I did. I'm sure I'm going to mess this up. So at the end of this, to try to send it over Twitter. Again, I'm not no professional at doing this stuff as far as... We went from, forgot what the hell we used to have already. How about that? I forgot that we had, the app we used to use was Mixler. So we went to Mixler, and now we're on Spreaker. And I certainly don't remember everything that I have to do in order to get this thing live. Now, Easy Kill, if you're in the chat room, if you could just tell me you can hear this, I would be appreciated, because I know I'm not supposed to be on right now. I don't know if anybody's supposed to be on right now. I know Andrea did her podcast in Lenny's place today. Did a very fine job, Andrea, just to let you know. I will give you your kudos to making a podcast listenable, fun, and want to come back to listen to you for another time. You continue, most people on this network continue to improve. And I will say, I was away for a week, so I really didn't get a chance. Like, when I was in Aruba, not that long ago, I was able to listen to you guys. I was on the same timeline, so I could listen to Lenny and everybody else here pretty easily on my iPhone. So it was no problem. I knew who was coming on. It was like a regular day for me. I just got up. Difference was I was listening to you guys on the beach 95% of the time, which is a cool thing. I'll tell you that. So, not to be kissing anybody's asses here, but I did miss most of you on my trip to Arizona, listening-wise. I did hear, unfortunately, some unfortunate news that Easy Kill had lost his mother-in-law. I found that out last night in the going to his... I wasn't aware of that, so, my condolences go out to Easy and his family. And the family here over at Lenny Melnick's Fantasy Sports Network, we are here for him and his time of grief to try to get him a little bit of, the fantasy out of his reality for the day and for the weeks coming. That's going to be tough times for him and his family. As we know, as most of us have experienced, these untimely deaths in our families or friends. And it's never easy. I've witnessed it, many times now, I guess more than I like to say. Recently, more as the older I get, unfortunately, more of your friends and relatives and people around you are getting ill and sick. And it's a tough time for a lot of us. And at this stage, we become the caretakers of our parents, sometimes the caretakers of other people we never thought we'd have to take care of. This is life, folks. This is what happens. And getting back to life and reality for me, going to Arizona wasn't a pleasure trip only. It was a serious looking to change of life's experience for myself. So I'm going to try to remember some of the things that I did and didn't do and experienced in Arizona for the past week. I'm considering, me and my wife, to possibly leave New York City for the first time. And as a resident here, which is a scary situation, I would think, for most people, to just get up on your horse and take off and go to a brand new town, new city, many miles away from where you grew up. And, with the experience we had was a very good experience. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I give it a 7, maybe even better than that, as far as certain things were more like an 8, 9. Of course, people will say, what about the heat? What about the heat? How did you handle the heat? Well, I didn't really handle the heat. My thought process was, I had a thought process in my mind. I wasn't worrying about the heat. I wasn't worrying about the negativity of going there. Of course, I felt it. We had a 100-degree day. We had a 97-degree day. But there was a purpose for me and my wife to do something. And it's funny, out of mind over matter, kind of was like, except when, if you got in your car and it was too hot, you said, oh, wait a minute, you just can't get in your car here. You got to kind of take a couple of steps back. Other than that, we were with a real estate agent the first few days, and one of the most important things, besides her showing us the properties, was her getting into the car and turning the air conditioner on immediately, because we were chatting away, and we get into the car and we're still chatting about the place, and she's, we're talking, and, you get into a car and you start talking without the air conditioner on. It's not a good experience. So she learned pretty quick that, you don't keep your, we had a bucket of ice and we had a whole case of water we had in our car. So we were prepared to do our trips properly with not to dehydrate, and we were ready to begin the journey the correct way. Is don't get dehydrated. Sunblock. I sunblocked up every morning, sometimes twice a day. Change the clothes sometimes twice a day, folks. That's one thing I forgot to bring. I got to tell you, I thought I bring enough T-shirts and underwear for this trip, and I think I bring too many pairs of shorts. Walking shorts. I needed to bring more underwears and T-shirts, because you go through them a little bit faster. And so it definitely is an experience for the next time, is pack tons of T-shirts, pack more. I'll tell you, pack your underwear. Yeah, I know what you mean. Say, what is he talking about, underwear? It's the truth, though, man. You go through, you're out there in the heat and you're walking around for your own safety and for your own, I guess, just to feel good. You want to kind of, take off those underwear and put a nice clean pair on, after the half a day, believe it or not. And powder is your friend. I'll tell you that. Vaseline on your lips is your friend. And, of course, sunblock is definitely required at any place. Doesn't matter if it's a cloudy day, if it's not a cloudy day. You sunblock it up, because you'll get torched. And I did. I mean, I missed a few spots on my, believe it or not, underneath my pants and my thighs. I was out there and I was, I thought I, took pretty good care of everything. But when I came back, my thighs were red and my knees were hurting because it was too much sun. Got beat up on me. So I made sure, day 2 to the rest of this trip, boom. Everything gets sunblocked, I don't care. You do it right. So, those are some of the things, my experience in Arizona was that. And as a real estate agent, we had a friend of ours that actually is a friend of the site. Her name is Jean. She's part of our Lenny Mellick's Fantasy Sports Network cast of characters that comes into the chat room here and there. And she's a listener. She has a little trouble listening, she tells me, because, well, she's living on the West Coast, and she can't always get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to listen to Lenny. I explained to her how to listen to Lenny and anybody else here that she may want to listen to on demand, and how she could do that. So now she's very, very happy, because she does enjoy most of the shows she says she listens to. She wishes we would do a little more West Coast talk, but she understands, being an East Coast most of the hosts, a lot of us are from this side of the world, but she does enjoy all that we do here at Lenny Mellick's Fantasy Sports Network, and it's good to hear, because she's not the only one. A few of her friends have tuned in, and then they're part of the chat room. And some people are a little shy. They don't want to come over. They don't want to be, they'll listen to us, which is, good to know. And at least, some more people are listening. I actually went to a ballpark. I wore Lenny Melnick's fantasy, the shirt that Lenny was nice enough, him and Andrea, they made him up a couple years ago. So I actually wore that to Arizona's Chase Field. Got a couple of looks. I was standing online getting a pretzel, and guy looked at me and said, "Is that a podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Is that the guy on the radio?" I said, "Yeah, serious." So there are people that know Lenny Melnick in Arizona that T-shirt works, folks. I guess we should probably make some more of those shirts. I think we sold some of them shirts. We might make a little more money. And it's a cool shirt if you guys have one. So I'm still sporting mine. I still fit into it. So that's a good thing. But that's pretty much, when we got to the state, we got to see an Arizona Diamondback game. That's part of the Arizona Diamondback experience, the Arizona experience for me. Going to a game is quite different than going to a game here in New York. Travel-wise, we had Gene from the site had told us, you better take the train in because, it's going to be very crowded and the roads is crowded. And to get into the ballpark, it's going to be a lot, it's going to be very, a hassle for you and your family. Because I took my two cousins who also came from New York on this trip, not with us, but they happened to just be down there at the same time. So we all went together to a ball game. With that, what happened was we decided, you know what? We want to experience the traffic. We want to see how it is when there is traffic. And that's part of it. Like the same thing with the heat. We're there to experience the worst of Arizona as well as the best. So we can make a real good observation on whether we really do want to move down there. So just going there and having rainbows, and lollipops all the time, that's not reality. Dealing with the heat and dealing with traffic and dealing with the hassles of Arizona is part of why I want to see the reality of the real deal. So so what we did was, we all hopped in. I unfortunately, my cousins drove, which wasn't the right thing to do. I wish I would have drove with my wife. But my cousin Tony drove, and his wife was in the passenger seat, and they were a little older than me, so they have their different experiences with using a GPS and how to properly use the GPS, which is not something that I would say the older generation, even though I'm older than most of these people listening to this, they're older than me, and it's a kind of a funny thing watching them try to manipulate an iPhone in a car, talking to it and telling it. Basically, when my cousin Tony's driving and my cousin Phyllis is screaming at the iPhone, "Why aren't you talking? Why aren't you talking?" This is my cousin talking to her iPhone. "Why aren't Tony? The phone's not talking. We're gonna get lost." Yeah, and I'm trying to explain to her, it doesn't have to talk every minute. It told you already. Next right, is 200 feet. That's pretty much it. You don't need to tell you every second, but in the world of my cousins and the older generation, holding and pressing the button 1,000 times, she's thinking she's going to get information off the phone. That ain't going to happen. It's a pretty, you have to kind of be there to experience it. Unfortunately, you don't want to be there because you're afraid you're going to get into a car accident when you're using your GPS in that manner. Anyway, even through all of that, me and my wife were smart enough in the back seat. We didn't want to, make them feel bad or nothing. We had our iPhone with the map and everything. We were looking at it with the volume down so we can actually know where we were going the right way. So we would kind of say, "All right, Tony, you're good. Yeah, go ahead. Next left, you make a left here. Next stop is here, So we kind of guided them, without really telling them we were watching our iPhone as well as my cousin was using hers. So anyway, just so you know, we took the highway and we parked in the parking lot, and it cost us, I think, all of $12, which isn't bad considering Yankee Stadium for me costs normally $40 to $50. And we parked basically, looking at the stadium, we were maybe 50 feet from this. No, I'm saying 50, but maybe 200 feet tops from the stadium. So we didn't have a long walk, and it was simple enough. We parked, no problem, and got to the stadium.